what I tell guys all the time is like, when you look at what they're doing at professional level or high level athletics, they're not doing bodybuilding splits. If anything, they're doing total body lifts.
Yeah.
They're maybe doing 5 exercises max. It's not a matter of you're in the gym for an hour, 2 hours, or whatnot. It's a matter of you get in, get out, and you leave the sport to be the sport.
Yes.
And I know you've talked about this, just how there's really no such thing as sport-specific, like, training. Like, training is training.
It's such a buzzword and a fad. And what's interesting is you're talking about the high-level guys. So I have friends that coach in the NFL. They're like, Zach, we love what you're doing. In the NFL, they're often in the weight room twice a week, they're telling me. And they say it's total body. It's total body training. And those are the elite. And I was thinking about, okay, that's the elite. And I talked to Nate about this because he's followed all of our videos. And he's like, where are all those strong guys and those high school guys used to train? I'm like, they seem to not want a coach. They want to do bodybuilding workouts. And I say, what's crazy is the reason why I got into strength and conditioning is because I kept getting injured from bodybuilding style workouts. And then my, kind of excuse is the internet wasn't really available to me. It was available, but articles were like hard to come by. There was no YouTube. I mean, there was no Google. And so I had never heard of like pushing your single leg strength and working your posterior chain and all those things. So I trained the way we still hear kids training today, which is chest and buys, legs, back and buys, shoulders, tries, this split. And so I had a great physique, but I was consistently injured until I finally tore my ACL. And I said, man, I got to find a way to train.
And I think a side topic to that a little bit is because I hear it, especially in the baseball world, where like it's not as much of a problem as it used to be, but there used to be the notion of like, oh, if I'm a baseball player or pitcher, I can't lift weights because I'm going to get tight and this and that. And I think a lot of that, what that comes from is they have this notion of I'm going to do the bodybuilding type stuff.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, you'll put on a little bit of mass doing that. I think there should be a little bit of some bodybuilding hypertrophy in any young athlete's program.
Body armor.
Yes. They need muscle mass. The problem is when that's all that you focus on, what will happen is you will eventually start to essentially develop some tightness and limitations in certain areas. If you have essentially an overdeveloped chest, your ability to get it to lay back, all those things. And I think the problem that we run into, then it's like, okay, well, I can't lift because I'm going to get tight or this and that. And essentially it's just creating this kind of whole problem. Like, hold on, like lifting is not the issue. You have to lift. It's more a matter of we need to take it from a different approach. And the other problem too, a little bit that I see is the reason why a lot of guys don't want to lift when they're playing sports year round, I think, is because they're like, well, I get fatigued, I get tired.
Yes, I hear that a lot.
The problem with that is like we need to change the notion of like your fatigue is not the goal of training. What I tell guys all the time is like, listen, you should not be leaving a session feeling like, God, I feel like I can't do another rep. You should leave feeling fresh. Like that's how
invigorated.
Exactly.
Yes.
When we look at long-term development, like that's what you want to do. Like no one cares about how hard you did for one workout or whatnot. It's more a matter of how does what you're doing in the gym affect your sport. That's what I tell guys. It's all good and dandy if you're the strongest guy in the gym, like you're doing everything, this and that. But if you're by doing that, you're taking away room for you to improve your sports skill, then it doesn't really matter. It's always supplementary to allow you to.
That's the struggle. Those people, whether it's parents or kids, is they don't understand how to put it together into a proper system. And so you were mentioning Zach. You've coached at college. I've coached in the majors. What was great about that schedule is they did strength training in the morning. Then they went and had their breakfast. Then they went to class. Then they got a nap midday. Then in the early afternoon was practice. There was separation of that. Whereas a middle or high school athlete, which is who we train, is sitting in school for 7 hours, then rush home, maybe not get the meal, try to squeeze in some sort of strength training, then go to the travel practice, or I got school practice, then travel practice. So the model, the way it's set up, crushes the athlete because they kind of just pile things up rather than spread it out. But the other thing I want to hit on, Jeff, that you mentioned is the bodybuilding. I had a coach say to me, hey, what's up with so-and-so? My father watched him wrestle and said, looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. I said, yes. We never see him strength training. He goes to a typical gym and does chest and buys, back and buys. He does bodybuilding. So you build a great physique, which was the mistake I made, having a great physique, but I didn't have durability. I had consistent injuries. I wasn't very fast and powerful, and my stamina was extremely poor because I trained bodybuilding muscle rather than strength, endurance, power endurance, which is what a baseball player would need, a wrestler, a football player, a hockey player. So we have the show muscle and then the go muscle. And I always tell athletes, if you train for performance, you get the physique. If you focus on physique only, you do not get the performance. And so I believe their most influential people are a lot of the bodybuilders, influencers, rather than somebody who's kind of says this is the way it works. So I think there's a time constraint, there's an influence struggle of who they're going to listen to, as well as being a teenager. I got to figure this out on my own. And so I think it's sports, and for today, as you and I said, that travel sport is never going away. I guess the answer to that is, can parents find a proper sports performance coach and a model that allows them to say, you're going to get to travel practice, you're going to get your sports strength training in, and then you're going to see somebody like Dr. Jeff, not when you're hurt, but for consistent maintenance. So it doesn't repeat the cycle of bodybuilding training, a lot of travel sports, get hurt, stop that. Now I have to see Dr. Jeff, but I don't train. And so it's wrong, rather than I'm going to put pieces of the puzzle together to make it like the best formula.
No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it is essentially, it's a big feedback loop.
Yes.
Like, it's not just one piece. But I tell you guys all the time, like, you could do every rotator cuff exercise under the sun, but if you're not training in season or whatnot, you're essentially just kind of wasting time doing a bunch of arm.
A lot of sport coaches, though, Jeff, won't do it. So I work at a high school, and I always tell the coaches, the best in-season program is only preceded by a consistent off-season program. So we have two things there. Nobody showing up off-season, 2 weeks before the season, we got to train. It's too late. It's got to be a year-round ebb and flow model, rather than disappear 8-9 months, try to train. Or we have consistent off-season, nothing in season. The best way I could explain that to parents or even an athlete watching is, in high school, you take a second language, Spanish, Latin, French, and then in the summertime, you're gone for 10 weeks. So you come back in September and you forget how to speak Spanish. So let's say you finish in June at 100, you return in September, 10 weeks later, the length of a sports season before playoffs, you're at a 70. You're at a C- when it's playoff time. That's what happens to the body. So the best thing to do is, it's a year-round thing. Is it hard? Yes, everything I tell athletes is what I tell my own two kids. I have a daughter playing D1 tennis and a son playing baseball. I say, yeah, it's hard, but the other option is you don't do it, and then you're just consistently injured and have to get treatment. It's a lot of work.
It is, and you touch on a good point there, and this helps maybe put things into perspective, for at least what I see from an injury standpoint, is that kind of cycle of you don't do anything during the off season, then you start ramping up in your sport-specific activity, and then that's where a lot of times, whenever we have a quick ramp up, whether it's volume, intensity, duration, anything like that, that's a lot of times where we see these either old injuries, these chronic injuries become now acute injuries,
yes,
or you just see other types of acute injuries. A lot of soft tissue, tendon, ligament injuries as well, and a lot of times that's because that tissue has weakened and it's not durable.
Yes.
And now when you're trying to, let's just say this is your first year, you're trying out for varsity, and you're trying to go out all out there every time, you're trying to get on the team more than anything. What happens in some cases is guys will get to the end of tryouts and they're just grinding.
They're crushed.
The last 3 weeks that they haven't been prepared for, they've just been going all out, rightfully, to try to make the team. But now then it's a conversation of, okay, like the season has just started and we're kind of hanging, we're behind a little bit. Now we got to really try to do a lot of work to just essentially to keep them on the field. And there's stuff that we can do for that, but it's more a matter of, like, when you're in that situation, you're more so managing instead of saying, hey, what can I do to make sure I'm still getting better? Like, I think that's the concept that people need to kind of realize is, like, there's a lot of conversation around, yes, we're trying to maintain in season and whatnot. You can get better and stronger in season.
I think the phrase maintenance is already a defeatist attitude. We're just going to kind of squeeze it in when we can. It's not really that important, and it automatically sets you back because it like crushes the program.
Yep. No,
yes.
I agree. Just like you said, if you're lifting twice a week and whatnot, if you're not like going to the well every time, like just being completely burnt out, like you can absolutely get stronger, faster.
In my experience, I like to not say not my opinion, we try to match the training not just to, like, what does the sport need, what time of the season is it, but also the mentality of the athlete. I've had a few athletes they thrive on a little more volume and work ethic and lifting heavier in season, we will go that route because they believe in it. It makes them better. But overall, 9 out of 10, twice a week, 25 to 30 minute has been, including the prep and a bit of a cool down and some soft tissue work at the end. 25, 30 minutes twice a week, I have found to be the most effective model for the in-season.
And I think, I mean, you probably see this too. Like, it's for some people, for some guys, it's probably like, well, I'm only lifting twice a week. Like, am I going to get weaker? Am I going to lose like my definition or whatnot? And I'm sure you probably have seen it's like, it kind of ends up being the opposite a little bit, where now that you are giving yourself time to recover and whatnot, like you actually end up just putting on a little bit more just muscle.
Yeah, your body's like, oh, this is kind of this like optimal place. I'm thriving in this area. And that makes me think about, like, when we talk about the struggles of time, parents often get very stressed in the beginning of a sports season because the coach is running a longer practice, which makes sense. They're handling logistics and organizational and all kinds of procedures, and they're trying to squeeze in skill work because usually games and competition is like 2 weeks after the start of a season. In baseball, it hasn't been daylight savings, so they're battling the sun going down. So in the first 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, practice is longer than normal, maybe even an hour longer than normal. It's like, it's too much, where they start freaking out. The ticket is stay calm and stay the course. And maybe you can't do 2 strength sessions a week. Maybe it's 1. That's 100% more than 0. And then making sure with that increased output towards specific skill, you got to get the soft tissue treatment done. They have to see a guy like you. It is, again, all pieces of the puzzle. And I think the American system is, if we're looking at like 10 pieces to the puzzle, they're trying to do 9 pieces, sports training. So what I'm seeing when I go to watch sports, basketball, football, wrestling, soccer, I see high level of skill, but I see very like poor strength, athletes struggling with stamina. And that just tells me the bucket of sports skill is so overflowed, and then the strength and the physical capacity bucket is done. And then, of course, now we're this hurts, that hurts. And then they don't want to train. Well, we got to get a good warm-up. We got to get the blood flow going. And the answer, and I'm sure you've seen this being in your world of physical therapy, is at the major league level, I'm going to see Dr. Jeff. That's one piece of the puzzle. Then I'm going to do strength. Whereas in high school, they're going to be like, I'm sore. I'm going to the athletic trainer. I'm going to get compression on. Now you're skipping all strength. And what are we recovering from? You're sore. We know we're going to be sore.
I think that's even another good topic here. Is like, even when guys are hurt, like, you have to continue to train. I tell guys all the time, hey, listen, if you have right elbow or shoulder surgery, like, there's nothing wrong with your left arm, your core.
Yes.
Not only for one, in a just like we're saying a rotational sport, we know the importance of those other areas, but two, at the very least, by you training the other side of your body, you will have some overflow in a positive way to help gain strength back on your right side, not only from a physical standpoint, but from a nervous system standpoint.
Yep.
It's just like you said, like, it doesn't take much. It just takes you just get in, you get the work.
Stimulating the body. What's so interesting, Jeff, is so I'm listening to you and you understand the performance. But let's say my son or daughter injures literally their finger. They slide into base, they break a finger. It's not odd for a medical doctor, maybe it's from a liability standpoint, they just say, do nothing until that splint comes off. And then I always think of this. So what happens there is, okay, you told the kid to do nothing, you scared the parents into no activity, then he gets the splint off his finger, or let's say it's a girl, female soccer player, basketball player, sprained ankle, do nothing, and then 3 or 4 weeks later, you're cleared. Now they're thrusted back into practice and games, and they've done nothing for a month. That is a great formula for injuring something else, and then even worse, how does that athlete feel mentally after he or she hasn't trained for a month? They have zero or a massive lack of confidence, and it just causes such a downward spiral. Why would doctors do it? Is it more of like cover themselves liability-wise?
I think it's more a matter of maybe not the awareness. Because I see this with baseball players all the time, where guys will get hurt and they're like, so let's just say a guy's got a growth condition with elbow or not. they're probably gonna be shut down for 4 to 6 weeks of no throwing. And I've had cases where guys have been told, yeah, they just told me just PT's not really gonna help or anything like that, just kind of resting.
Yes.
And the problem in this case is one, sure, you're resting and whatnot, but when you're resting, all you're changing potentially is pain. Pain is one very small piece of the puzzle. Pain going away does not mean you've gotten stronger, does not mean you've gotten more stable. It just means you've removed yourself from what was a painful stimulus, and the body kind of has naturally just kind of adapted to not being subjected to that painful stimulus. And the problem then is like, okay, let's just say it's an elbow growth plate issue for like a youth thrower or whatnot. Yeah, obviously, like there's a lot of elbow stuff you want to do during that rehab to it. But let's just say they're not, do nothing for 4 to 6 weeks, they go back to throwing. Am I worried about their elbow? If they were to do that, get back to throwing? Yes. What I'm more worried about is their shoulder. And I see this a lot of times, especially in the throwers, is if I have a guy with an elbow injury, I am just as, if not more, concerned with making sure their shoulder's in a good spot. And I have a guy with a shoulder surgery, it's the same, but now I'm more worried about their elbow. And I think that's just a matter of the body is very good at compensating. And it's going to just kind of subconsciously find an area that it's going to want to move more. You might not realize it, but like, yeah, it might, when you get it to like kind of max layback and whatnot, it's probably gonna be like, yeah, you know what? Let's move to the shoulder a little bit more instead of the elbow. That's the problem, I think, is like, it all comes down to preparation. There's different schemes to it and whatnot, but you have to be prepared for the sport. The sport is the main skill you want to work at. By being prepared from an S&C standpoint, like you guys do more than anything, it is going to open up your ability to be more productive at your sport. I think a perfect example is, let's take a contact or collision sport, football, wrestling, rugby, anything like that. Anytime you have collision sports like that or whatnot, like it's a whole different ballgame to be able to sprint down the field. But when you have to sprint down the field, run into another guy, bounce off him, fall to the ground, get up and whatnot, it's a completely different skill. And if you're not prepared for that from a, like you mentioned, armor building standpoint, a stamina, a power, an endurance standpoint, you're going to falter very, very
Even
quickly.
the emotional standpoint of impact. So like girls soccer, I always say, when I watch freshman or JV play, we see very similar skill. The game is a little bit slower, but also a big thing I notice is if two girls are going for the ball, they stop. Varsity, they do not stop. They run into each other. And I always said, I never leave a soccer game saying, these girls need more speed and agility. I think strength, durability, and body armor. They're already sprinting so much. If I was to like simplify what we're saying is like, hey, you've got the growth plate issue in the elbow, the shoulder, which by the way, Little League shoulder, I always said like, what is this new thing that we had to come up with that once upon a time didn't exist? But okay, so Little League shoulder, we shut it down for 4 to 6 weeks. That would be like saying, Jeff, you're gonna do the Jersey Shore half marathon. 6 weeks prior, stop running. How are you gonna run? You're gonna feel like hell. It's gonna be a struggle. So, okay, we got Little League shoulder, we've got growth plate issue somewhere, we train around it. So we could do lower body work, we could pull sleds, we could do belt squats, we could squat with a kettlebell on one side, we could do one arm pressing. Oh, is it gonna cause an imbalance? You already have an imbalance, you're a baseball player. So the best way I could look at that is if somebody's preparing to run, would we say don't run for 6 weeks before the event? But we do it in a sport. Hey, you've injured XYZ, do 0. And I've also found that if you want to get an athlete or an adult into a bad mental state, have them like remove all movement.
Oh yeah, it's very well known. I mean, you can just talk to people. A lot of people are like, yeah, you know what, I just feel better. I feel just like I can take on more in my day when I move, when I work out. Even when I start, there's been plenty of times I've hurt my own back and whatnot. And like, am I frustrated I can't deadlift or squat or clean when that time comes? Sure, but if anything, I just find ways to move. It might be all I can tolerate is a goblet squat. It might be all I can tolerate is some push-ups, some pull-ups.
Or walking.
Or walking. And
Yes.
I always feel better after doing that. That's what I tell people, you have to move. There is much more than just the physical benefit.
It's got like the a full body effect. Like you said, it stimulates your nervous system. For me, exercise is a lot mental for me. I exercise in the morning. You know, you're a dad, you're a husband, you're a business owner. Those are a lot of stressors. And so exercising is key. It's the ticket to positive mental health. And I look at that with athletes. Okay, you have an athlete injured. You're going to take away, their confidence is going to have a major hit. So if we take away exercise, we're really going to negatively impact their confidence. It's very similar to what they would say to a motorcycle rider. You crashed your bike, I'm going to not get on this bike for a year. They say that's the worst. You got to get back on that bike. And so I like to look at all those pieces like you're talking about. It's like, okay, this area is hurt. I always like to say, what is another way we could do it? Donnie Thompson said one of the best things to me, and it was like a common sense thing. He said, what does the farmer do who hurts his back? Does he go sit on the couch and collect unemployment for 6 months? He can't. He hurt his back, but he gets back in the tractor the next day and drives the tractor, and then there's a big stone in front of the tractor, so he has to get out and move it. He rebuilds his body through movement and working. And I said, oh my God, it's almost the opposite of what we hear in a medical community, not in the PT community, but most doctors don't have knowledge of training, strength training, nutrition. I think like the doctors I see, they're considered functional medicine. They look at all those things and they live it. They know what a deadlift is.